Hey there, hope everyone's doing okay, and I wanted to share a few more thoughts around what your brand can say right now about your company, about your products and services, about why they should invest in you at a time when you need that revenue more than ever. As we all know, business has taken an enormous hit globally, and you see the consequences here in the United States, where it's leading to this free fall in the stock market and in employment and layoffs and furloughs, and there's only so long that most businesses can survive, especially small businesses, even with the CARES Act and the payroll protection program and the Main Street lending program that's coming. So all of this puts us in a perilous situation, and the only thing you can do is react intentionally. The only thing you can do is have a conscious plan, and you've really got to market yourself. But how do you do it in a way that's sensitive? Well, first and foremost, you have to make sure that everyone's health and well-being is paramount. Without a doubt, it's the number one priority. Once you've done that, you then think, well, how do you actually manage the financial health of your business, for your employees, for the whole ecosystem and community that kept your business alive up till this point? And so I wanted to explain the fourth quadrant of 4 quadrants I've laid out in terms of how you can actually communicate with the marketplace. And so the first one is, how do you speak directly to the virus itself and the whole issue, COVID-19. The second is, how do you speak to your products and services in a way that's meaningful? The third is, how do you speak to your industry, within your industry and on behalf of your industry? And the fourth is really, how do you speak to the world at large? And the reason I've broken it out this way is it shows you that rather than being paralyzed or really being forced to sit on your hands and say nothing because anything you say is going to be seen as or misperceived as self-serving, you can go out there to the marketplace with confidence and talk about certain things that will not necessarily be the same kind of transactional, sales marketing that you've done in the past, but rather builds your reputation, shows that you care and that you're showing up, keeps you top of mind, make sure you're in that consideration set so that if someone's going to go and buy something, which everybody still needs to do even while they're at home, they actually think of you and keep you top of mind because they like the way you're showing up in the world. And so in earlier videos, we've talked about how you actually talk about the virus and the knock-on effect of that. Then I talked about in the follow-up video about how you talk about your products and services, and we've done another one about the industry at large. And this is the fourth one, which is really, how do you talk to the world, to these larger issues? What can you say that's relevant and meaningful, but that will really help your business survive and thrive? And so with that as context, the first thing you can do is actually lead a meaningful and relevant conversation. Something that's relevant to all of your stakeholders, that really connects with people at the head, heart, and hands level, in the sense that they know you're doing something as well as making you feel something. And I'll give you an example. Like Harry's, the subscription razor company, is actually working with DoSomething.org, and they're leading a very meaningful conversation right now around mental health in young men. And this is a huge issue outright, especially as men are less inclined to talk about their feelings and bottle up a lot of the issues that they face, especially at that uncertain age when you're a young man. Having been one myself, I know that to be true. And with that in mind, what they've done is they've kind of started this conversation, giving people permission to say, how they're feeling in the context of the pandemic, which is people are losing their jobs. Their futures are uncertain. They're anxious. They're depressed. There's, tragically, a high incidence of, suicide amongst young male men, and especially among men, as a consequence of being laid off. And so this is a truly substantive issue. And so something that's obviously authentically connected to the brand, which is all about razors and so on, is the mental health issue for young men. And they're partnered with a nonprofit, DoSomething.org, to make sure that they're approaching it in a sensitive and authentic and credible way, because they're experts in subscription razor business. They're not experts in the mental health issue. So lead a meaningful and resonant conversation. The second tactic you can use is to actually redirect your impact focus. So if you were already doing something to have an impact that was a function of your purpose, then look at how you can bring that to life in an equally authentic way during the virus. So for example, Lego. We all know Lego. We've variously stuck it in our ear. We've trod on it if you've got kids late at night and screamed blue murder. as those sharp things go straight into the bottom of your foot. We all grew up with Lego. But Lego has done such an amazing job in the last few years of re-engineering its entire supply chain to make it sustainable instead of using petrochemicals. They've also really looked at how they position their brand as a global education platform, not only for kids, but for adults as well. And so what they're doing now during COVID-19 is actually supporting families and kids who are all, wrestling with how to kind of keep themselves engaged and entertained and getting on while they're at home. So they've actually pivoted what they're doing to focus their education on how to support children and families during COVID-19. So 2 powerful tactics there. And the third one is lead collective conversations and efforts. So don't just look at what you're doing alone. If you're speaking to the world at large, if you're speaking to those bigger issues out there, be part of larger conversations. So, for example, SAP is one of the largest software companies in the world, and they're actually launching, or they're doing their Purpose Network live conversations. They're a very large brand that has, I think, almost all members of the Fortune 500 are their customers. And they're reaching out to the different customers, these companies, and talking to them about purpose and how they're activating it at this time. So they're leveraging their customer network to lead a very dimensional conversation, which will drive engagement and keep the brand top of mind and really fortify their purpose credentials. Or in the footwear and apparel space, VF, which owns 25 plus brands like Vans and Timberland and Eagle Creek, they've actually partnered with Global Giving, and they're making donation to the COVID cause, and also their donation matching as well. And they've also got all of their portfolio brands contributing as well. So folks like Timberland and others are out there really rallying people to make a donation so they can match it and make the greatest difference possible. So in both cases, whether it's leading a conversation or whether it's donation matching through Global Giving, they're leading a collective conversation out there. And then the fourth tactic you can use is really to repurpose the impact program you already have. So if you're out there and you've got some commitment, for example, there's a big global platform that I'm a huge fan of that 92Y and the UN Foundation started, which is Giving Tuesday, where organizations all around the world partner with nonprofits to contribute to something they really care about. And here, this year, they're really focusing on Giving Tuesday on the pandemic and COVID-19 and solving for that. So look at whatever programs you either have yourself, you might have a foundation, you might have an NGO or a nonprofit you support, you have your own corporate foundation. How can you repurpose that to direct it towards this issue so that you're participating in a larger sense, the larger issue that the world is suffering at large, rather than solely something specific to your products, services, or industry. So there are 4 different tactics, leading relevant and meaningful conversations, redirecting your impact focus itself, leading collective efforts or conversations, or looking at these impact programs that are out there that are larger than yourself, like Giving Tuesday, and contributing there because they're being focused on COVID-19 right now. And so once again, don't feel paralyzed. Do know that you can speak to, all manner of issues right now that can keep your brand and your social and digital engagement high, and to keep you top of mind in that consideration set. You can really speak to the pandemic itself and its impact on people. You can speak to your products and services in the ways that I mentioned. You can speak to the industry at large, and then you can speak to the world on these broader issues. And when you apply your own creativity through the lens of your business and your products and your services and your industry to the issues we all care about, you suddenly realize, wow, there's a lot you can say. And that will not only help address these issues and have the impact we all must have right now to help protect as many lives as possible, but it'll also help your business survive so that you can come out the other side into that new normal and be as successful as possible.